Special thanks to Freshworks for sponsoring the meetup and making this event today possible. So we're joined today by guest speaker Vijay Shankar. He's the co-founder and director solutions engineering at Freshworks, and he'll be speaking on next-gen IT delivery for remote working and the tools and technologies they're using within AWS to achieve this. We'll then follow solution architect Peter Hansen as he goes through the setup of a client VPN using the AWS Control Tower service. I will mention we are recording today's session and we will be posting it online along with the presentation slides later this week. So please feel free to use the Q&A function throughout the session. And there's also a chat box where we may be asking questions throughout the session to give away 2 $25 gift cards. So any answers you can just put in the chat box. So the winner of this month's or last month's Amazon gift card was Jose Noel, and congratulations. So a big thank you for your ongoing support and the feedback that you were able to provide us. So you'll receive a follow-up email with the gift card. If you do want to join this month's giveaway, you can scan the QR code on the screen or copy the link. So I'll just give everyone 30 seconds if you guys wish to pull out your phones, get the camera out and take a screenshot. Great. So we're always looking for people to present and sponsor the meetup. So anyone interested, you can email us at hello+meetup@polarseven.com with any ideas or if you guys are looking to sponsor. A couple of announcements from AWS in the last month, both kind of security focused. One being that Amazon Guard Duty has broadened threat detection coverage to monitor for highly suspicious data access and anomaly detection. This helps you protect your data residing in Amazon S3. So you can now kind of detect different anomalies and different behaviors or unusual usage patterns, which gives you more protection in your S3. Another security update is that the AWS fraud detector is now generally available. So this is now generally available in the Sydney region. It's a fully managed service that makes it easier to identify potentially fraudulent online activities, such as the creation of fake accounts or potentially fraudulent online payments. So you can just follow the link down below if you guys want to look at more information on those. So I'll hand it over now to Vijay. He'll be taking us through the next gen IT delivery for remote working. Thanks for that, Vijay.
Thanks, Jackson, and good afternoon, everyone. Thanks for joining in. I hope I am audible to everyone.
Yes, we can hear you great.
Perfect. Thanks, everyone, for joining in. I'm going to be quickly sharing my screen, and then we will kick off this meeting. And first of all, really some sad news. I did not want to start it off that way, but saw some news about the latest event in Lebanon. Rest in peace, folks, and healthy and faster recovery for all the affected people. And let's kick off the whole conversation today. And thank you, PolarSeven team, for arranging this meetup. And thanks to our marketing team, Maria and Vic, and Peter, who has joined in, and of course Jackson, for organizing this. So just to kick off, the next gen IT for remote working and looking at the current situation, remote working is going to be the bigger picture for the next few months or probably years to come. That's the way it looks like, but hopefully things do get settled fine. Let's kick off things, right? So my name is Vijay Shankar. I'm one of the co-founders of Freshworks, and currently I'm working as the Director of Solutions Engineering in Freshworks Australia, New Zealand region. Just to give a quick brief introduction about Freshworks. overall, we were launched in 2010 as Freshdesk, and we rebranded ourselves to Freshworks. Overall, 400 million plus in funding with some of the key marquee venture capitalists in the world, which includes Google, Axel, Sequoia, Tiger. You would have known these names through their investments through Facebook, Twitter, and many such enterprise startups who have gone public. Globally, of course, we were earlier to 12 offices, but now we have 3,000 global office, of course. That is our employee strength, and close to 250,000 plus businesses in 145 countries using Freshworks, not individual users, but businesses, which ranges from startups to SMBs to mid-market to enterprise customers. Some of the enterprise names or mid-market names across our region that falls under Cisco, T2T, Harvey Norman, Progressive Direct Insurance, of course, University of Sydney, and many more. With this, I would love to speak about what is the agenda for today's meeting. We will be looking at the current employee technology experience, the 4 pillars of delightful IT experience for your employees, and we will be also talking about AWS Event Bridge and how Freshworks is leveraging the technology, and of course, prizes after the Q&A. Let's jump in to the life of an employee, right? So let's look at that. I'm pretty sure most of you will relate to that. You know, like you wake up, you open up your Instagram or Facebook or WhatsApp, and you see your text messages or your social media messages from your colleagues, your relatives. And then if you, of course, not at this time, but if you're commuting to work, you open up Uber or you go to Opal and you see the, the Transit NSW or Melbourne Translink, or, like the metro trains, and see the app and see like, hey, when is the next train? And then you go to office and then you open up different applications. It could be your ID application. It could be your Microsoft application if you are in the finance or sales side of things. So you can see our lives are consumed by different apps. Of course, we use Android or an iOS device, but if you look at the whole experience, it switches. You have to shuffle between different types of application. And if you look at the whole experience, right? So your day starts with like, hey, I'm shopping on Amazon. I'm chatting with my friends on WhatsApp or Apple Business Chat or Apple Chat, iMessage. I'm commuting through Uber. I'm moving or sharing documents through Dropbox. But the moment you hit the workplace, you are bombarded by these mundane, clunky software which have so poor user interface. And you feel that the motivation and the morale goes down, right? So you are welcomed by this poor experience, and you feel so like unempowered. So that is the whole digital divide between personal and work applications, right? Why is that digital divide? And what are we doing to change that? So I'm going to quickly talk about what are we doing to redefine the whole workforce, and of course the workplace. At this time, I would love to introduce the key theme within the organization, which is 4 pillars of IT service. How can IT be that one shop to provide that delightful experience? First of all, what should IT focus on? Hey, it should be accessible. Every application should be accessible 24/7. It should be available to everyone. It should have the accuracy. It should be hosted with the right set of information, and it should be available to the right person. And at the same time, speed is of or utmost importance as of today. You cannot have a delay in application being provided. And if you look at the whole experience, the user experience, like if you look at the whole iPhone or the Apple experience, right? You don't want to go back to the old I would say the olden days where BlackBerry phones or even the Motorola E7 phones, where we used to have these old clunky experience. We don't want to do that. We want to have a modern, rich experience. So this is where the whole IT design should be focused on, or the IT service delivery should be focused on. At this time, if you look at the whole experience, right? All these organizations that we have today and members from these organizations, you would know that when you have something broken on your devices or your desktops or your laptops, or if something is not working, or if you need to get a new license or a software application, IT kind of forces you that, hey, go and do this, go and send out an email, go and raise this form. Why are we forcing our employees to go to somewhere to access some applications or to request something, right? If you open up your iPhone, you have all these applications readily available. Why can't we have the same experience where employees today are working on Microsoft Teams? They are using Slack, they are using Workplace from Facebook. Why can't IT sit there? Like if you take a typical example, right? So IBM recently procured Slack, and close to 250,000 employees within IBM are sitting on Slack. And Slack was able to procure so many bots for IT and development team and finance team that they are overrun by bots today. But that is making the lives of these 250,000 employees so much better, rather than having this old method of reaching out to IT through these mundane forms and stuff. So the idea is, take IT where work happens or where your employees are. Don't force them to come to you. Go to the employees. That is what is happening in the customer era. Let's do it for the employee era as well. At this time, we're going to quickly post in a poll. Can you access your work software via mobile? We'll just give a minute for everyone to just give their feedback. We'll give another 15 seconds. Okay, moving on. Thanks for the submissions, guys. Now, the first pillar of IT that we talk about is accessibility, right? If you look at the whole change in dynamics with the digital transformation, most of the organizations were still on-premise. They were hosting all these on-prem applications. They were running so many, even if you look at a PBX telephony system, and now look at how the situation has changed. Organizations which did not adopt to the digital transformation are currently facing a huge crisis, and they are like, they are rushing towards the digital divide. Now, when you talk about accessibility, you have to focus on how soon an application is available, and are we going from a siloed experience, or are we kind of providing this unified experience, right? So if you look at so many different tools, sales uses CRM, IT uses a different set of applications, HR uses a different set of HRMS or HRIS. But if you look at the whole premise, IT is the one which is holding them all together. All the procurement goes through IT, demonstrating these products, or going through the proof of concept, or procuring these products. So accessibility all happens through IT, which is why if you look at tools like Microsoft Teams or Slack, are kind of adopting the whole way of bringing all these people together or bridging them all together. So like that one place where every information is being shared, and users are requesting information through this one page, right? So I'll give you a typical example. If you look at an organization which is using Microsoft Teams, employees are already working on Teams, they're talking to their colleagues. Why do you not have an option for IT to be reachable there? So with Freshworks, we took that whole approach, and we found that why can't we have a conversational bot that can allow employees to look up FAQs, that can look up IT requests, also report an incident when something happens. Like if the application or the IDE crashes, why can't a bot quickly say that, hey, the request has been logged. We have already logged that your device crashed or your IDE crashed. I've already reported it, and it will be taken care by IT in few hours. Or if someone needs a new CRM access, or someone needs access to an application, the bot can quickly help the user out and place a request for the user. Same is with respect to an application that a salesperson or a finance person is running. So while someone is building a report, something goes slow, they want to quickly be able to access a chatbot, which can guide them saying that, hey, you know what, something is not working. How do I access the filter? Here is a quick FAQ to resolve that. So that's the idea behind accessibility. IT should be available for employees. And at this time, I also wanted to quickly share about a return to work app that has been launched by Freshworks for Freshservice. So anyone who is currently returning to work, how to request for PPE equipments, how to share information that they were overseas, what's their temperature, current temperature, so you can keep your HR team updated. So you could safely induct employees from who are returning to work with a set of workflows. So you would want all these information ready to be deployed, right? So IT can ensure that there is seamless information and it's being processed in the right manner. Second pillar talks about accuracy. The idea is IT should be the one central repository. It should have all the information. It should have the right information, but it should be given to the right people at the right time. You don't want every information to be public. There could be confidential information. There could be info that is PII and so on. So you don't want everybody to have that. So how do we make sure that everyone gets access to the data, but they are given in a more proactive way? When something is broken or when something is already known to users, there is no point in sharing it with them, right? So that's where we are bringing up more proactive and real-time updates. So you want to keep your users updated, saying that, hey, your request is being handled by IT. It will be handled in 24 hours, 48 hours. You are being more proactive by pushing announcements, saying if there is a, imagine like Telstra NBN going down or Telstra telephony going down a few days back. Employees within the entire IT or the entire organization was affected. What if there was a proper announcement in the employee self-service portal saying that, hey, Telstra is facing a telephony or an NBN problem, so there will be an issue or there will be some slowness. Why not switch to it? You don't want a reactive support. You want to have a proactive support, which is why we say that, hey, let it be open. Let the self-service portal or the service desk be more transparent, where you are sharing the information that, hey, your request will be resolved in 4 days to the right user, and you are also being proactive. So the user knows that, So the user knows that it will take us 4 days to resolve it, so I don't have to keep bugging IT again and again. Same goes for knowledge articles which can be published, where agents, instead of sharing mundane information or non-useful information, they could share info that, hey, here is a set of canned responses, here is a set of solution articles which could help you resolve these issues. Like how do I reset password? If you look at the whole service desk scenario, the biggest culprit in an organization is resetting password or my account got locked out, right? You don't want your employees or service desk to be focused there. That could be handled by a bot or by a properly designed video tutorial, which can save a lot of money and time, right? So you can automate those processes. And pushing announcement like, hey, the payroll system is going to be under maintenance. You can be more predictive, and you can also be proactive with proper change control and proper announcement. So that's where accuracy comes into picture. Your service desk and your IT should be more proactive and accurate with the data that they are sharing. And when it comes to noise, signal versus noise, a lot of these tools that we look at, like Splunk, SolarWinds, and Logic Monitor, today they gather so much of noise. But how do we turn these into signals? Your IT service desk or your NOC, that is your network operations center, could be utilizing all these different tools. But how do we make sure that it's a signal and not a noise, right? So that's where we gather alerts from the system. We track that, hey, so many alerts have been raised by DB failure. There is an error, there is a warning. For 70%, 60%, what would be the effect or the cascading effect on an application? So leverage these kind of alert management systems and bring the signal there. So you could integrate with tools like this. And basically this is driven for your agents or your service desk or your network monitoring members who of course even AWS CloudWatch or so, where you can track all these alerts from all these different assets that are going down or deprecated or being provisioned. You want to track that and you want to make a signal out of that. So you could leverage these kind of meaningful integrations and try to provide the right info to the user. So when you see an alert that email service is facing some degradation, you can push out an announcement saying that, hey, looks like Exchange or Office 365 is going through some issue. There will be some slowness in email and your employees are happy. They are not going to bombard the service desk with thousands of emails. You want to keep it very simple. Now, this is something very funny, but at the same time, it's kind of getting realistic, right? So if you look at this was predicted by Gartner, and this was last year when we also visited Gartner event. They shared it with us that by 2020, an average person will have more conversations with bots than with their spouses. And if you look at the situation today, it's so realistic, right? And today also I saw an IT news that Services Australia has seen 600% increase in chatbot related conversations due to COVID situation, right? So as you can see, there is so much of uptick, and I think there was a stat that I saw that people were touching up to 1 million conversation and as you can see 100 million website view within a 5-week period. So you can imagine how many users are interacting with chatbots, and even if we don't even know, so many organizations have now moved to chatbots. That the reason why they have moved to chatbots is not because they want to simplify or they want to reduce it. They want to give that initial feel that someone is there to take care of your level 1 issues. So introducing chatbots will not just kind of deflect, but also will give that sense of kind of like a calmness and reduce that, hey, you know what, the system is tracking my queries, and there is someone who is in the background and kind of guide me in answering these L1 questions. Like this is a conversational bot, which I'll show you later as well how it works, where level 1 questions can be asked and the bots can guide you saying if something is not working, printer is not connected, how can I do that? And they can interactively they can be made interactive, right? So you can provide that rich experience to your employees. At this time, another poll: do you have AI and or ML supporting your IT support operations today? We'll give you a minute to share that feedback. Let's give another 30 seconds. Okay, moving on. Now, the third pillar that we talked about was speed, right? So if you look at the current scenario, and organizations who were in the waterfall model of things are moving more and more agile, because if you are not doing it, your competitors are already doing it. So you don't want to lose out. And looking at that, speed is of utmost importance, because agile has been tried and tested, and organizations have already started adopting to it. And I'll give you one more scenario there. Comparing the whole AWS to Microsoft Azure to Google Cloud Platform, right? So last year, if you, during our Gartner 2019, Gartner had shared that AWS is miles and miles ahead of Azure and GCP. The overall maturity of AWS was around 78%, whereas Microsoft was sitting at 30 and Google GCP was sitting at 15 or 20. So you can see how agile AWS had been. I recall, like in 2011, Werner Vogel's CTO of Amazon visited India, Chennai. So I was sitting in his presentation, and he was talking about 40 different services that were deployed by AWS. And moving ahead, today there are close to 250 plus different services on AWS console. So you can see in the past 9 years how AWS has matured, and they are constantly adding. Every year they add like 40 or 50 different services, and that's not because they are looking into this old model. They are agile. They want to provide quicker, responsive applications, and they are heavily relying on artificial intelligence and machine learning. So AI and ML cannot be looked back saying that they don't provide that kind of personal experience. True to a certain level, yes, but if you want to innovate, you have to jump in on the bandwagon, right? So that's where talking about automations, of course, the whole idea is how can we be low code, no code environment? How can we bring in an automation where it can intelligently assign tickets to service desks? How can tickets be categorized intelligently? Leverage machine learning. How can bots be used on the agent side, right? So bots have been on the customer side. Yes, we are seeing some live examples, but can bots guide service desk agents? How to do compliance, how to manage problems or change management, how to deploy in an agile way. So bots can be utilized in that. That will help your agents to also support your employees faster. And of course, the service delivery will go faster. Now, in that sense, I wanted to quickly showcase how agile can come into picture. So requests are coming in from users. You can introduce agile project management, which can go into your scrum boards or backlogs, and you can have like different tasks split up. So you can introduce change management along with faster and agile project management, right? So these are tied in natively with Freshworks ecosystem. And then of course, ticket suggestions for agents. So when agents are receiving inquiries, so here is a user saying my wife's laptop is not working, his Wi-Fi is not working. So you can see how machine learning is suggesting some best practices, saying or FAQ answers saying, hey, here are some common Wi-Fi related articles, or here are some reset Wi-Fi password over phone article that can help you resolve that. This can save a lot of time for your service desk agents. And of course, ticket categorization. So one of the things that we did notice is that a lot of time and effort is wasted by agents to categorize them. Is it high priority? Is it medium priority? Is it a hardware issue? Is it a software issue? So we introduced machine learning based field suggesters, which can automate the whole process, and it can say that it's a high priority issue, it is a medium priority issue. It learns from the work done by your service desk team members. That's saving a lot of time in future. Right. Now, jumping on to the fourth pillar is, of course, usability. As I earlier mentioned, we are in an era where better applications and better options are being shown to users with different applications that we have, different kind of websites we have with so much good usability and look and feel, right? So we want to provide the same kind of rich experience. Like if you ask a CRM, a millennial or a Gen Z member to use a PeopleSoft CRM, right? So I'm pretty sure they would feel so demotivated, because if you look at the whole interface of PeopleSoft, it's so like, I don't want to use the word, but it's so sad and demotivating to even go back to the user interface. We don't want that. We want to provide the rich experience, which is why usability is very essential. That's why tools like Slack and Microsoft Teams have adopted so well. That's why you want to have a personalized self-service portal where employees can come and request information. This is one of our own portal. We call it Lighthouse, where every employee in Freshworks uses it. So they have HR related stuff. So as you can see, it's nicely designed with WCAG compliance. It goes through all these different nice UI designs and stuff. Also, Microsoft Teams, which is a native integration, which is available for end users and agents. So once integrated, employees can interact with the system. So they don't have to leave their experience. I'll showcase some of the capabilities. and also machine learning being helpful in the agent side as well. So service desk members don't have to build reports, so they can ask questions which are built as reports to the team members. So you can bring that usability and that personalization in the system. At this time, another poll. Are you interested to see an AI supported service desk live demo? We'd be happy to do that for you if you are interested. We'll give a minute to share the feedback. We'll give another 15 seconds. Awesome. At this time, I wanted to quickly showcase the Microsoft Teams workflow just to showcase how it works. So this is a typical Teams experience for any employee who is working on certain items. They would be working on some of their important stuff, and they would want to raise an issue, or let's say I'm a service desk member and I am sitting and I would like to know all the inquiries that are sitting on my name. So I can call the service bot, which is a Freshservice bot, saying like, hey, can you fetch me all the tickets that are assigned to my group? And the command that I used was fetch group tickets. So in my group, which is global operations, I have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 or 7 tickets that are assigned to me. And here is a ticket that says regular maintenance of SharePoint. So I want to quickly work on this particular service request, and I can or incident, and I can see there is a request raised by a user saying, hey, regular maintenance of SharePoint. I can reply to the incident or to the service request without having to leave the experience, saying, hi there, thanks for raising this. We'll fix this ASAP. And I can add a reply to a service request or an incident without leaving the comfort of Microsoft Teams. I can even add a private note, and I can notify someone within my managerial staff or someone, or I can directly access the request. I can do furthermore actions depending on what I wish to do with the bot. And the bot is also integrated for end users. The bot is integrated for agents to kind of work off of this ecosystem. They don't have to leave that experience. With that, I'll quickly jump on to our presentation here. A quick summary of what we saw. Can users reach IT without leaving their tool of work or application? Right information, is it being provided to the right people at the right time? Speed, is your IT delivering today at the right speed? And of course, design and usability, how it works and not just how it looks. With that, I wanted to quickly jump into Freshworks AWS EventBridge connector, just to give a quick introduction what we are doing with AWS EventBridge. I don't want to go too deep with EventBridge and Lambda services description, but of course, as you know, EventBridge is our AWS's serverless event bus service for all AWS application, which leverages on-prem applications or any other SaaS application. How are we using?
Sorry, Vijay, I think we've lost your audio. Maria or anyone else on the panel, are you able to hear?
Yes, I can hear.
So sorry, that's mine.
Yep, I can hear as well.
Is Vijay still talking?
I'm just going to give him a call. Hold on a moment.
So just while Maria's giving Vijay a call, I think it might be worth just quickly diving into some of the questions that Freshdesk had available, or we can at least do the first one, if that's okay, Maria.
Yeah, go for it.
Okay, so I'll just share my screen. I'll just be one moment.
I can share screen if you want. You actually complete one top.
So the first question we had for a $25 Uber Eats voucher. So whoever has the first answer, if you can post it into the chat section, the first person to get it will get the $25 voucher.
Hi everyone, I'm so sorry. The meeting got I got disconnected. I'm so sorry.
No problem, Vijay. We're just quickly doing this Q&A for the Uber voucher, then I'll hand it straight over to you after this one.
Sure.
So just as I'm sharing, I can't see, has anyone given an answer yet? Accessibility, speed, accuracy, and usability. Is that all correct, Maria?
That is actually, so.
Okay, so Anthony Pritchett, if you're able to just provide your email address, you can either do it privately or to everyone, and we'll get that Uber Eats voucher sent over to you. Vijay, do you want to take over?
Yes.
Screen sharing and continue? Thank you.
Sure. Continuing over the Amazon Event Bridge, of course, bringing in or building infrastructure or applications that are more event driven. So where have we leveraged that? Just to give you a common set of use case that we have with Event Bridge is, of course, business intelligence, and you want to bring in more analytics into the system. Sentiment analysis and machine learning heavily, and of course proper audit log information. So how it works is all the Freshworks ecosystem products send events to Event Bridge and written on custom rules. I mean, you can write custom rules. So some of the typical workflow that we've seen is we kind of push all Freshdesk tickets gets data into AWS, and we build our own data into Tableau. So look at enterprise-wide, right? So let's look at number crunching, like something like a Telstra or a Vodafone, where they are pushing in so much of data. Event Bridge can really different applications, different stores, and different mom and pop shops and centers where they can collect all this data and push it into one Power BI or Tableau data. And same is with able to immediately trigger an invoice and send out billing related stuff with provisioning of all these billing records in our billing system. So it was all done seamlessly. So it took us just like a few hours, I believe, so not even a few days. So that's the power of Event Bridge, which we can leverage within the glance of what we did with AWS Event Bridge. I got some feedback that I am dropping off. Is that happening for everyone? Sorry, sorry about that.
It is cutting out just a little bit. So I think there's just a couple more slides. So if we breeze through them, we'll.
Sorry about that. I will quickly just cover it back. So just I was sharing the Event Bridge integration with Freshworks, how we leverage that and how we set it up in different ecosystem products. And in Freshworks ecosystem, machine learning and AI is our core. So we are heavily investing with AWS products with Freshworks. Now, why Event Bridge? Just to quickly give you an idea, serverless events, highly scalable and cost efficient. That's the core idea. And automating critical services using AWS Lambda, making sure that your data is clean and you can run any specific business logic. And of course, customers can choose what to use. And since it is a pay-as-you-go service, it's not heavily on, hey, you have to subscribe to everything. You can choose what you wish to use. Any questions for the members? Let me know if you have any questions. I'll be more than happy to answer and share my thoughts on that.
Great. Thanks, Vijay. Just there was also a few people, I think, who voted up for wanting a live demo. So is there a way they can reach out if they want to schedule in a demo?
Thanks, Jackson. So we should be getting the poll results through Zoom. We'll be able to see who's actually opted into that.
Sure.
Otherwise, we will send a follow-up email with yourself, Jackson, as well.
No problem. Great. So I'll just hand over straight to Peter. So thanks a lot for that, Vijay, and thanks a lot, Freshworks. It's great to get an idea of the technologies and direction you guys are heading in. Very interesting topic. Thanks. I'll hand over now to Peter.
Awesome. You can hear me and see my slides and stuff like that?
Yes, perfectly.
Well, thanks, Vijay. That was a great presentation, and thanks, Jackson and PolarSeven for having me present today. So I'm going to be taking you through AWS Client VPN, but first up, a little bit about me. I run a couple of meetups myself. I run the Data Engineering and Serverless meetup here in Sydney, and a couple of conferences. So Data Eng Bytes, it's coming up on the 20th and 21st of August. And Serverless Days Sydney and ANZ this year because of COVID-19. You know, all of the different cities around ANZ have sort of come together for Serverless Days because we're all in the same time zone. We're just doing a combined effort. So that's coming up on the 4th of September. Should have some really great speakers for that one. So I'm the founder of Cloud Shuttle, a community-focused cloud consultancy. And I've got, so I'll just get rid of this Zoom thing. Yeah, so lost track. Cloud Shuttle, so yeah, it's a community-focused cloud consultancy. So I do cloud consultancy, but also with the aim of doing lots of community events, because growing communities is a great place to learn and grow people's careers, and it's a great way of sharing. So a bit about my AWS creds. I've got 7 AWS certifications and always keen to do more, but you know, it always takes a little bit of time. I'm also an AWS community builder. It's a new program that they've released, like a tier below a community hero. And it's just a way of recognizing people who are, I guess, contributing in the AWS community. And yeah, if you've got any questions about the AWS Community Builder program, feel free to reach out. So what am I going to talk about today? Effectively, I just wanted to give a bit of a grounding of, you know, what is client VPN, what is a VPN, and kind of where you would use it. That's the whole point of it all. Just to really, depending, you know, people come to these meetups at various levels of technical knowledge, you know, so it's always good to start off at a sort of level 100, 200 level to begin with. So just take you through, you know, AWS accounts versus organizations, control tower with the segue to AWS SSO, because I think it ties in quite well with client VPN. Accessing workloads, so you know how you might access different workloads. You might be using IAM or the console or the CLI, or there could be VPC based workloads that you're not using IAM for. And then the need for a VPN, what is client VPN, and then a quick little demo just to demonstrate it. Cool, so just setting the scene for a control tower setup. Imagine you're a startup or a company taking their first steps in the cloud. So you might be quite well versed with the cloud, but this particular company, it's just kind of making its start with it. And so you might just, a good starting point is just, you know, create a first account and migrate some workloads on there. So you might have an EC2 instance or a Lambda or an ECS container, you know, with a few other bits and pieces wired up, and you know, that's kind of your first attempt at having a go at the cloud. And then as you're hiring more developers and the like, you might want to create a second account, a production account, where sort of, I guess, everyone treads a little bit more carefully. A production account, you know, it's just a great way to go, okay, this particular account we're going to take greater care with, as opposed to just a simple old developer account where anything goes. Then as you get a little bit more sophisticated, you might want to bring in some DevOps practices, implement GitFlow, have a shared account where you're sort of putting all your CI/CD pipelines, your code and container repositories and things, and they're sort of dynamically deploying, you know, the same CloudFormation templates or whatever you use, Terraform or the like, to, you know, your dev, staging and prod accounts. So you're basically maintaining very similar and well-structured infrastructure across all the various accounts, and you've got a great way of sort of promoting your code. Then, so once you've got that set up, I guess, you know, the next step would be to sort of start thinking about, you know, maybe your company has grown to such a scale that, you know, you've got, you know, regulatory bodies looking at you, and or you're sort of hitting that enterprise scale where you need to sort of have a bit more guarantee around what your accounts look like, you know, your security posture, perhaps, you know, automated checks to see whether some security groups and things like that aren't open to the world. And this is where Control Tower comes in. It's gives you an audit and log account. You've got an original master account where you go about setting up your Control Tower and rolling it all out. So going through some of the benefits, Control Tower is basically the next incarnation of landing zones. It's, you know, a lot of people may have experience with landing zones being a bit cumbersome and error prone and the like. Control Tower is just, you know, a GUI interface, you know, click a few buttons and you're up and running. So, and you can just let AWS kind of handle the implementation. So it's got an account vending machine. It's a best practice setup. It's got lots of guardrails and governance and reporting to tell you kind of, and there's a whole bunch of, like I said, guardrails that you can sort of implement, which will tell you, you know, whether, you know, what sort of security posture you're maintaining. Now, Control Tower does come with its a VPC implementation. My advice is potentially you might want to roll your own if you want a bit more of a sophisticated implementation. That's just my personal preference, but you know, perhaps it's a little bit of feedback that we can all provide to AWS to, you know, implement a bit more of a nicer VPC setup. But that's just my 5 cents worth. You don't need to take that, you know, as 100%. So AWS SSO. Effectively what it is it's a single sign-on. It's a way to access all of your accounts. So as I've mentioned here, you've got you know, quite a few accounts already, and some of you might come from organizations where you've got even more accounts than that. And so having an IAM user across all of those accounts can be quite a lot to maintain for a person, you know, making sure that that particular IAM user has got the right permissions to access the right, you know, different roles and things like that. You know, potentially you've got your IAM users in a central account, but then of course you need to manage all the roles that are being assumed and whether that particular user is part of a group that can access those roles. So there's a lot of management overhead with the various different implementations of what you can do outside of an AWS SSO setup. But effectively what it does provide is a centralized place to log into all your accounts. You don't need to create any IAM users, and you can manage all your permissions centrally. So you can add sort of users to groups and to roles automatically, and it's very takes a lot of the management overhead away from you. So that's kind of the login portal, and this is a bit what it can look like. You know, I should probably have a read-only access to my prod account. That's a bit of a yeah, faux pas on my behalf. But yeah, so you can just click on, you know, whether you want to sort of log into the management console. You can also use AWS SSO to log in to resources via the command line and stuff like that. I think Ben Keogh, one of the AWS community heroes, he's created a really cool GitHub repo to help with, you know, flicking between your, you know, different accounts with a command line tool. So I'll try and share that link at the end of this presentation. So it's a bit of a good segue into what client VPN is. So, you know, what AWS SSO is trying to achieve is to have the centralized place where you can sort of manage all your access to all your different accounts, all your IAM accessible workloads. And look, a lot more workloads are becoming IAM accessible. You know, we know that AWS Sessions Manager, you know, can sort of, you can run commands and stuff like that to VPC accessible workloads. But I think, you know, sometimes, you know, just having a client VPN there, you know, does have its benefits, because it really does allow you to, I guess, just quickly debug things without a lot of effort. So that is kind of one of the benefits there of having a client VPN. And it's a centralized place where you can, if you've got it set up correctly, you can sort of just access all your resources across all of the various different accounts where you've got a VPC. So what does a typical sort of production VPC look like? You know, it typically looks like this, and, you know, companies vary. It does vary from company to company, just the way that, you know, you're thinking of things. But, you know, you'd generally have three-tiered architecture: public subnet, private subnet, and secure subnet, stretched across 3 availability zones for high availability. So if one availability zone gets knocked out, as long as you've got, you know, a bunch of auto-scaling groups and things like that, you know, you can survive all of that. But then you might have a load balancer in your, you know, public subnet, and then, you know, you can, in your private subnet, you might have a application server, and you might have a database in your secure subnet. So that's kind of, and so where a VPN comes in handy is really, you just don't want these accessible by the internet at all. And quite frankly, you wouldn't want stuff in the secure subnet accessible even from the public subnet. So really, you need to hop into this zone before you can even access what's going on there. So that's, I guess, where the client VPN, it gives you a little door into this space here. So, you know, to make all this magic happen, this is pretty much a typical sort of control tower setup. You've got, you know, your master account, which creates your AWS organizations via control tower. You've got your core organizational unit and your custom or your operational organizational unit. You got and your AWS single sign-on, and so you've got your log and audit accounts. You wouldn't typically have a VPC in those accounts. Those accounts are just kind of there for those purposes only. But then, you know, you might have a shared account with your dev, staging, and prod account. And in your shared account, you know, you've got, you know, you might have Amazon ECR for your containers, and, you know, a few other sort of repos there. But then you've got your VPC in your shared account, because occasionally you might have some, you know, CI/CD pipelines in there in your VPC. And then you've got VPC peering to your, you know, prod, staging, and dev VPCs. And so with that setup, then you want to be implementing your Amazon client VPN in here, and attaching it to there, and using these peering connections, or traversing the peering connections, you can get into these different VPCs. So setting up a client VPN, it is a little bit cumbersome. I've got a few links because, you know, I don't have all the time in the world in this presentation to, you know, run you through exactly how to set it up. But basically, these kind of 4 steps are what you really want to be keeping in the back of your mind. Get yourself a nice CloudFormation template. And, you know, you'll need to create, if you're using mutual authentication, you'll have to create your OpenSSL certificates. And then what you need is some authorizations, first and foremost, to gain access to those particular subnets. Then subnet associations, and then you're going to need, you know, your routes to those particular subnets. So I'm just going to take you through a quick video. It's not going to play any sound, but I'll talk over it. So this is just a little Postgres Aurora database that I spun up in my development account. And this is the password to that Postgres database. Now I'm just going to bring up my command line, and I've got pSQL installed. And this is just, you know, with the fully configured with the host and the port and the username. I've got my AWS VPN client here. It's ready to connect, but I haven't connected yet. So I'm going to try and connect locally to this Postgres database. And of course, that's going to fail. And so, yep, so that did fail. And then I'm going to connect with my AWS VPN client. So that's connected now. And now I'm going to try and connect, and it's asking for a password. I'll grab that password out of Secrets Manager. And then I'm in. I can run a quick little query just to see if there's any relations. And there aren't, because I didn't create any yet. It's a fresh Postgres database. And then, yeah, that's basically it. So I was able to connect, you know, and do a bit of debugging or whatever I wanted to do locally with resources. So I'm traversing just, I'm traversing, you know, from the client VPN to the shared account VPC across to the dev VPC into, I believe I put this Postgres database in the private subnet. I might not have put it in the secure subnet for this time. So that's pretty much that. I've got some useful links. So hopefully Jackson will be distributing this slide deck. I'll give him an updated slide deck. And yeah, that's pretty much the size of it. That's the benefit of AWS Client VPN. There's obviously a whole bunch of other VPNs that you could use. Do check out the pricing of the client VPN because it's not the cheapest option, but I guess it's fully managed. So, you know, it takes away that headache, and it just can, you know, like a lot of these managed services, it can scale quite well. So, although I would caveat that I haven't tested that scaling capability. Cool. So here's all my contact details, peter@cloudshuttle.com.au. You can find me on Twitter at Pete Hansons. And thanks so much for having me. Any questions?
So there is one question from Andre. Can you see the Q&A button down the bottom of Zoom?
Yep. Is it possible to use AWS SSO on Azure and GCP? Oh, that is a question that, yeah, I just, you know, I don't know the answer to. I know you can sort of connect AWS SSO. You can like use it for single sign-on onto Jira and other things like that. But, you know, potentially they haven't, you know, it's probably one for the FAQ pages. Just wondering how this client VPN compares to the AWS CLI. I guess the AWS CLI, you know, is obviously basically accessing resources via IAM. So where you'd want to use the client VPN is for VPC-based resources that are not open to the public internet. So, you know, you might have you know, you know, it kind of replaces the need for like a Bastion server or, you know, lots of other things like that. You know, whereas, yeah, hopefully that answers your question. So you've got like AWS CLI, that's for IAM-based resources, accessing those versus, so, you know, trying to access a DynamoDB table, you'll use probably IAM to fetch data from there. Whereas, say, something that's VPC-based, EC2 instance, for instance, or any sort of RDS database, although you can access RDS databases via IAM in some instances. So I guess that hopefully that thanks, Marvin. Cool.
Great. So thanks for that, Peter. I'll just quickly take over sharing. I won't take much of everyone's time. I'm sure everyone needs to get back to work and get back to meetings. But as always, we'd love to hear from you guys what you enjoyed about the sessions and what we can do better next time. So again, I'll just quickly put up the QR code on the screen. So please give us any feedback about this session or what we could do to make it better. Again, a huge thanks to Freshworks specifically for sponsoring and making this event happen. We certainly wouldn't be able to do it without them. And thank you, Vijay and Peter, for coming on and presenting today. We will be posting the sessions online, both the video recording and also the presentations. So you can head over to our AWS page to download those presentations. Great. So thanks, everyone. Again, thanks, Freshworks. Thanks, Vijay. Thanks, Peter. And we hope to see you all again next month.
Thanks, Jackson. Cheers. See ya.
Thanks, everyone.